Good evening, everybody. Welcome in to Live and Learn. Hope you're doing well. Hope you all had a great weekend. It was a wild weekend in the world of sports, and we have lots to react to tonight. Just off the top, please follow the podcast, Apple, Spotify. I sent out a link on our Facebook page to the podcast link on Apple, so you can find it there. So leave us a rating and review, follow. That's where the best place to get access to the podcast. They will download if you can follow the program. The second that the episodes are launched, basically, second I'm done here, I upload them. So look out for that on your Apple platforms to be up to date on the podcast. This week, a little bit different. We'll be doing a podcast right now, as you already know. We'll be doing one Wednesday night, and we'll be doing a podcast Friday morning, a special Black Friday edition of the podcast. And the reason I'm doing this, Thursday's American Thanksgiving. There'll be football games that night, but also Friday we'll be able to react to those games. We'll be able to tee up a game on Friday in the NFL between the Raiders and the Kansas City Chiefs, a Black Friday edition game on Prime Video. There's also, I believe, 12 NHL games on Friday. So lots and tons of college football day. It's a great sports day, Black Friday. Awesome sports day. So we will talk about that Friday morning, likely around 9-10 o'clock. We'll be doing a podcast that'll be out soon after. But what a weekend. What a weekend. So much to dive into. Start with quick hits. This might have slipped through the cracks. You might not have known this happened. But Joe Thornton got his number retired by the San Jose Sharks on Saturday night. He had his family there, multiple ex-teammates, little Joe Pavelski, Patrick Marleau. Joe Thornton is now only the second player in Sharks history to have his number retired alongside Patrick Marleau, former captain of the franchise, one of the best players of all time, Joe Thornton. You could argue maybe the best player to not win a Stanley Cup. A future Hall of Famer, very unique person. Unlike me, big full beard, not the mustache, but he was a great leader, great player, and good to see Jumbo Joe Thornton get his number retired back in the Shark Tank on Saturday night in a losing effort to the Buffalo Sabres, who swept California quietly. We won't get into Buffalo more in today's show, but Buffalo, they're playing okay. There's so many quick hits in the NFL that you could go to. But then there's also what's the true headline from the NFL weekend? Because on paper, you look at it and go, it wasn't that great of a weekend. You look at the games and you say there's a lot of teams that were on a bye, which was true. If you look at week 12 in the NFL, this past weekend, you had Atlanta, Buffalo, Cincinnati, Jacksonville, New Orleans, and the Jets were all on bye weeks. Now, some of those teams aren't very good. You have Cincinnati, Jacksonville, New Orleans, and the Jets are all under 500, but does erase some games. In my quick hit segment, kickers. Kickers. They are, they're frustrating. I can't imagine being an actual player and relying on a 5'7", 145-pound man to come out and kick a field goal that will decide a game that I just gave everything to. You look at the Washington football team, aka the Washington Commanders. Down 10 late, get a field goal, get a stop, then turned that to an 86-yard touchdown to Terry McLaurin with 21 seconds left. And all the Commanders need is Austin Seibert to come out and kick an extra point. And he misses it by a quarter mile. The Cowboys end up winning the game. The Cowboys were a 10.5-point underdog on the road, and they win the game outright. And that really hurts the Commanders' chances of making the playoffs after a 7-2 start. I like this philosophy every time, but if I'm down a point after I just scored a touchdown, you can kick an extra point to tie the game, or you can go for two and basically win the game in this instance. With 21 seconds left, I don't think the Cowboys are getting down the field. Oh, and by the way, Brandon Aubrey had missed 2 field goals in that game already, so he's not exactly Mr. Sure-handed yesterday. But they decide to go for the extra point, and the game will go to overtime. And I know the line of thinking. If you're at home, you play for overtime. If you're on the road, you play to win. They were at home, and they played safe. And to me, it was the wrong choice. I'm never relying on a kicker because I don't trust kickers, and they're just unreliable people. It's a weird position. Some of them are great. A lot of them are terrible. Seibert was coming off an injury his first game in like 4 weeks. And you could have pushed the game to overtime. Washington likely would have won because they had the momentum. But I'm not relying on, I'm going for two. I have Jaden Daniels who can run. I have Terry McLaurin. I have an offense that's chugging. I'm banking on my rookie quarterback to make a play. And if it doesn't work, so be it. Instead, they try for an onside kick, and it gets scooped up for the Cowboys, and they run it back for a touchdown. And too little, too late for Washington. I like Dan Quinn. I think he's done a really good job with the team. I don't think Washington fans should look at this season as a failure, even if they don't make the playoffs. Because they were dreadful forever. They had an awful owner who they finally got rid of. It looks like they might get a new stadium in Washington. They got a really good GM in Adam Peters who came over from San Francisco. And you got Jaden Daniels, who's a star. I don't know if he's going to win Rookie of the Year because Bo Nix is playing pretty good for Sean Payton up in Denver, but you got a quarterback. You got a good one. You want to make the playoffs. You want to be able to compete. You want to say that you did it in year one, of course. But you don't go for two and you rely on a kicker. And if you make the kick, you need so many things. You need to win a coin toss. I hate all of it. I'm putting the control in my hands. I'm putting in the control of my quarterback, of my team. And it comes down to that one play. But don't get me wrong, it's embarrassing to lose to the Cowboys suck. We've been over this. The Cowboys didn't want to win that game. Jerry Jones didn't want to win that game. Oh, great, you're going to get a worse draft pick for a team that'll be what it is next year. Who cares? My position is simple. The Cowboys will only be relevant when it comes to winning. The Cowboys will only be relevant when it comes to competing for a championship when Jerry Jones is in the ground. Meaning he's dead or he got buried alive. Quite simple. Whatever comes first. They won a game yesterday. Whoopee. They have the Giants on Thanksgiving, which is a dreadful game, but I'm going to watch a lot of it. And they might win that game too. So that's going to give them 5 wins on the season. And now you can pivot and go, we weren't that bad. We didn't have Dak. We didn't have Micah for 4 games. It's not because our team is devoid of talent. Sure. But I'm never giving it to kickers. I'm never relying on just on that spot for a kicker to decide my season. Never. Because they're not because they suck. Most of them, anyway. But brutal spot for the Commanders. Speaking of the Giants, let's talk about the Giants here in quick hits. The New York Football Giants. Oh, the New York Football Giants. They are a big brand. They play in New York, well, New Jersey, but they're the New York Giants. The Meadowlands, all that crap. Eli Manning might be a first ballot Hall of Famer in a couple months. He isn't, but he probably will be. Couple championships in the early 2000s. And now we get to where they are now. The Giants are 2-9. They're playing Tommy DeVito at quarterback, who is best known for having an agent who's Italian. Yeah, that's what he's most known for. And not being a very good quarterback is what he's known for. But the Giants are tanking. They don't have to say it. We know it. I can comprehend the grift. They benched Daniel Jones last week. Made him the fourth-string quarterback. He was playing safety at practice. And then on Friday, he asked for his release, and they granted it to him. And it sounds like he'll be signing with his next team soon. Reports are Minnesota, Baltimore, two likely options. Both make sense. Both are good teams. Both will be in the playoffs. But I just look at the team, and they're just such disarray. They gave Daniel Jones all that money. And I remember I did a show the night of NFL free agency, and I said, this is so stupid. This quarterback who can't throw, but he can run bootlegs and run out of Duke, who was taken too high in the draft, you're going to give him $40 million a year, which they did. But now he's got no more guaranteed money, and you're not going to play him because if he gets injured, you're going to owe him over $20 million. So now he's gone. He'll be backing up somebody, maybe Sam Darnold. And you're left playing Tommy DeVito the last 6 games. To me, their team's just a joke. They played the Bucs yesterday, and the Bucs are an okay team, but the Bucs have a lot of injuries. The Bucs are kind of like a wounded bird, and the Giants lost by 23 at home. And for majority of the game, they were down 30-0. John Mara gave vote of confidence to Joe Shane and to Brian Daboll. I don't buy it. I think Daboll gets fired 100%. We see Malik Neighbors after the game, who they took 6 overall, complaining about targets, complaining about the offensive game plan. He did not have a catch in the first half. And it's simple to go, well, you'll just draft a quarterback. Ask their buddies, the New York Jets, who they play in the same building with, how easy it is to draft a quarterback. The Jets haven't drafted a good one since Mark Sanchez, and he wasn't even that good. So you can go, well, maybe Shador is available. Maybe we can get Cam Ward out of the U. But are they going to be great pros? You don't know. There's lots of unknown. There's lots of tough things to decipher there. You can draft them, but can they develop a quarterback? Do they know what they're doing? The New York Giants are by far the worst team in the NFC East. And they're in a division with the Cowboys and with Washington. And they are by far the worst. And I don't love their team moving forward. They might be the worst team in the NFC, period. They are worse than the Panthers to me. Panthers are getting better. They are. Let me put this. The Giants are by far the worst team in the NFC. Very well could be. The season ended today. They have the first pick in the draft. They want to lose out. They got the Cowboys this upcoming Thursday, Saints, Ravens, Falcons, Colts, at the Eagles. I don't see many wins there. I don't think they intend to win too many games out of that stretch. But I just wanted to bring them up because it's really a debacle there. It's kind of embarrassing how big of a shit show it is with how they're running their business, how they're going about things. Daniel Jones, wherever he goes, wish him the best. I don't think he's definitely not a starting quarterback in the NFL at this point. Backing up Sam Darnold the rest of the year, playing under Kevin O'Connell, who I think is a great coach, and Josh McCown, a quarterback's coach. Good idea. Playing behind Lamar, who can run. You can run like Lamar, not do the rest of the things, but maybe learning under Todd Monken in that offense. Not a terrible idea, and Baltimore does play tonight, so they can announce that as soon as tomorrow. But I'm curious to see where he lands and who he plays with. He said he wants to go to a contending team, not go to a bad team that needs a quarterback, and I think that's smart. Learn. Look at your mechanics. Get some good coaching. Don't get rushed into a system you don't know and play bad football. Put tape out there. Maybe he can be a Baker Mayfield type story. Baker got cut by the Panthers and signed with the Rams towards the back end of his season. He played 6 games of really good football. The Bucs gave him an opportunity. He won a division title, got them to the playoffs, and now he makes $30 million a year, and he's a good quarterback. And he's paid what he deserves, and I like Baker. Maybe that could be Daniel Jones' arc. I doubt it, but we'll see. Let's move to headlines. We got more wild NFL things to talk about with Saquon Barkley and his night last night and a bunch of other things that he pulled off. But I want to get into Jim Montgomery in the NHL. If you're not familiar, last Tuesday, the Boston Bruins fired Jim Montgomery as their head coach. He had a .715 win percentage in his time in Boston, 184 games as head coach. But the team had just gotten blown out by the Columbus Blue Jackets, and they thought it was time for a change. So Monty was fired. Since then, the Bruins are 2-0, but they've scored a combined 3 goals in 2 games. which is still concerning, and the biggest problem they have is they can't score. But they beat Detroit. They beat Utah 2-1 and 1-0. So 2-0 since firing their coach, but remains to be seen what kind of success it's going to have. And I fully believe that Don Sweeney believes that if the team doesn't get better, if they do not make the playoffs, he will be unemployed come June or April if they miss the play at that point. But I was getting a workout in with my buddy Aaron yesterday, and he's kind of asking me, who do you think is going to be the next head coach to be fired? I'm thinking about it as we're on the treadmill, and I'm like, well, San Jose is not doing it. They did it last year. Anaheim did it. And I'm kind of going through teams. Montreal is one that piques my interest because Marty St. Louis had never been a coach, but then got the job because the only qualification you need to be a head coach in Montreal is the ability to speak French. And you can look that up. That's a fact. That's not me taking a shot at French-speaking people, although that too. But that's really all you need. That's all you need is prerequisite is Michel Therrien couldn't speak French or English, and he got the job twice. I mean, that really tells you the tough operation that they're running up there. But I'm like, Montreal could be there. Like, Ottawa sucks, but they're not going to do it. Buffalo, no, Detroit came to mind because they're struggling. Lalonde's been there a minute. Stevie Y is definitely on the hot seat, so he might need to fire a coach just to save his hide. But less than an hour later, we're wrapping up the workout, and I get news that the St. Louis Blues have fired their head coach, Drew Bannister, and have named Jim Montgomery their new head coach. Drew Bannister became the interim head coach last year when the Blues fired Craig Berube, and they decided to keep him after the season, and they have to pay him this season and next season to not work. He didn't last 2 months into the 2024 campaign. Couple of things here. Jim Montgomery is a great coach. He was going to get another job. I didn't think it would be this quick. I thought he'd be a head coach this time next year. Absolutely, no doubt about it. But I looked and I went, St. Louis is kind of team that you don't think about because really there's not a whole lot to like about the team. I like their offer sheets, and I think overall those have been successful. Getting Broberg and getting Broberg and getting the forward from Edmonton, forgetting his name as I stumble here, but Broberg's the one that's really popped to mind. I like Broberg a lot. Dylan Holloway, so I'm trying to think of here. Broberg is a puck-moving defenseman. He's smart. He got injured, but prior to his injury, he was playing really good hockey. Edmonton misses him because they're playing a bunch of ragtag guys back there. So I like that. I like that they made those moves, but they don't have a superstar. I would argue they don't have a star player on their team. Robert Thomas, good player, not a star. Jordan Kyrou, mediocre player, not a star. I like Colton Parayko. I'd like him a hell of a lot more if he was a number 2 or number 3 on a championship-winning team. But he isn't. Jordan Binnington is well known because he's erratic and he's got a bad temper. But, I mean, I look at their team and I go, it's really talent devoid. And expecting this team to be good this year is kind of a stupid proposition, for lack of a better term. They are 9-12-1. They are in the Big Apple playing the Rangers tonight in Monty's first game. But you look, Kyrou, he's a good player. He's fine. Buchnevich, Pareko, Jake Neighbors. I like Jake Neighbors. I think he could, if he keeps getting better, he could become a Kachuk level player. Either one of them would suffice. Broberg had 9 points in 12 games before his. I'm telling you, that kid was playing well. Robert Thomas, 9 points in 10 games. He got injured. Braden Shen, old, not really there anymore. Holloway, been okay. But you look, Matthew Joseph, okay. Pierre-Olivier Joseph, Ryan Suter, who's over the hill. Brandon Saad, who's over the hill. Braden Shen, who's kind of over the hill. They're an old team full of has-beens. Nick Leddy. And talent devoid who will likely finish towards the bottom of the Central Division in the bottom of the Western Conference, quite frankly. Currently, they have more points than the Blackhawks, the Sharks, and the Predators. Predators are playing better than them. Predators are better than them. Will they turn it around? Remains to be seen. But I look up. Edmonton has their problems, but they're better than St. Louis. Vancouver has their problems, but they are better. LA, better. Calgary, better. Seattle, sure. Utah, about the same. I don't think this is a great job for Jim Montgomery. Now, he did get a 5-year contract, which, good security. Let this team get some talent for you. They're doing a succession plan right now for Doug Armstrong where eventually Alex Steen is going to become the general manager in a couple years. So kind of an interesting apprenticeship there with Doug Armstrong leading the crew in St. Louis. Jim Montgomery is from St. Louis. He coached there as an assistant. So he gets an opportunity to be the head man. I'm happy he got the gig. Do I think there would have been better jobs, potentially, in the offseason? But hometown, all that, sentimental feel, I get it. I'm happy he got 5 years. He deserves that security because I don't think winning is going to be coming really anytime soon. Looking at the St. Louis Blues prospects, Dalibor Dvorsky, player from Czechia. Seen him a couple times at the World Junior Hockey Championships. I like him. We'll see. Needs to find his offensive game. Good player. Jimmy Snuggerud. Kid can shoot the puck, that's for sure. Still playing in college. Otto Stenberg, who they took in last year's draft. Zach Dean, Canadian. They're hoping can develop. He's 21 now. I wouldn't call it a murderer's row of prospects, but they have a few guys that could materialize there. I'm just looking to look up Dvorsky's stats for fun. He'll be playing again this year for Slovakia at the World Junior Hockey Championships. He's playing in the American League this year. 13 points and 7. Good for him. For Dalibor Dvorsky. First season in the A, 13 points in 17 games. Who knows, might not even get released to Slovakia if he's playing that well. 88 points in 52 games for Sudbury last year in the O. His first and only season in the Ontario Hockey League. I like the player. Center, can hit. 6'1", plays bigger than 6'1", quite frankly. But hopefully we get to see him a month from tomorrow. If you can, World Junior Hockey Championships a month from tomorrow in Ottawa, back in Canada, which is awesome. Although, Ottawa, have fun, everybody that's getting out to Canada. A lot of fun parking at that venue, finding places to stay. Nice city, Ottawa, don't get me wrong. Very nice city. Just a pain in the ass to get anywhere. But St. Louis, I did not expect this on a Sunday morning. But they fired Bannister, hired Montgomery. He's got his first game tonight against the Rangers. And they made some news today. Rangers are coming back from a road trip, Western Canada. They beat the Canucks, lose to the Flames in the gimmick, because everybody does, and then got smoked by the Oilers on Saturday night, hockey night in Canada. McDavid was electric. He was all over the place. But that's not the bigger story. Elliot Friedman, who's pretty plugged in, I believe his reports, he reported today, and nobody debunked it, that the Rangers are actively shopping Jacob Trouba, their captain, and Chris Kreider. Trouba has a couple more years. Trouba has this year left. Kreider has this season and another after this one at a little over $6 million. They both have 15-team no trades. Chris Kreider has only played for the Rangers his entire career. They are both leaders. They both wear letters. Kreider's injured, not playing tonight. Kreider's 33. He can still do the stuff you like. He's played in 834 NHL games. He's got 10 points on the season. They are all goals. So still scoring. He scored 39 goals last year, 36 the year before, 52. So great seasons, really productive. Jacob Trouba is an enigma because he will take your head off, but the advanced metric people, aka the nerds, hate his defensive play. He doesn't produce points, really. He's got 6 points on the season, no goals, 17 penalty minutes. Although he is a +3. So, I mean, whatever that's worth. I think I get this from Chris Drury. I think he's looking at his team and going, I had this team last year, and we got close, but we didn't win. They got to Eastern Conference Finals, Game 6, and they lost. And I think he's looking at it going, I don't know if we'll get that far this year. Because teams around them are better. The Carolina Hurricanes have a problem when it comes to goaltending because their goalies can't stay healthy. Korchkov is in concussion protocol, and Freddie Anderson had surgery on a broken foot. Could have been his lower body surgery. He's out potentially 3 months. So they're up to the third and fourth string goaltenders. But yet it's rare that they ever lose a game. And Marty Necas is up at the top of the league lead in points. And they just play hard every night in front of Rod Brind'Amour, and they're really good. Devils played a lot of games early. But I look at them after 23 games and I go 14-7-2. It's a pretty good team. I think they can compete with Carolina, with Washington, with the Rangers. So I don't think they believe that they can beat the top teams. Shesterkin's a pending free agent. He could be gone. He could walk for nothing if they can't come to an agreement. which would be horrible on a number of different levels for the Rangers. So trading away older players who might not be of value to you anymore. Trading away mid-30 guys. Looking to get a little younger and looking to shake up your team a little bit. Looking to change your path. Build a different foundation. They have Lafreniere long term. I like that. Adam Fox, really good player. You want to keep Shesterkin. Absolutely. Now, I believe the report, but trading these guys in season is going to be difficult. With partial no trades, and again, you're trading away guys in their 30s. Can both guys still compete? Yes. But I don't know what you're going to get on the open market for that player. This is going to be a hockey trade. You're not trading these guys hoping for draft picks, hoping for a prospect. The Rangers want to win a Stanley Cup this year, period. Trouba called it the last dance before. It might be broken up before then. And I don't like when people use the last dance as kind of a benchmark, because the last dance is you actually won something. The Rangers haven't won anything. Michael Jordan didn't call it the last dance because he got to a conference final and lost. It was the last dance because the Bulls just kept winning. And you're getting older. Rangers are getting older. Trouba, Panarin, Kreider, their core of their team, older. Now, could you pull off deals? Maybe making hockey trades in season. Really tough. I mean, Artemi Panarin just turned 33. He's not a spring chicken. Still a good player, not a great player, a good player. Mika Zibanejad, 31, not playing very good hockey. Trocheck, 31. Lafreniere is young. Don't get to look up his age. Adam Fox, 26, still prime of his career. Going through this team, older, been through a lot, played a lot of hockey. I don't know if they can do it. And if you're relying on Artemi Panarin to be your playoff superstar, to put up the most effort, to bleed and get into the corners and fight for you, that's a losing battle because you've already fucking lost. Because 9 out of 10 games, he doesn't break a sweat. He doesn't need a shower. What's he doing this year for points? I'm sure it's great. I'm sure it's riveting. Panarin this year, 26 points in 19 games. Don't care. Don't care. Because he, empty stats guy, Artemi Panarin. That's what he is. He's a Fugazi if there ever was one. He's a good one. But he's a Fugazi. But the Rangers interest me. St. Louis Rangers tonight at the world's most famous arena. I think the Rangers, with their current team, could still win their division. Even with the team that they have. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to do anything in the playoffs. But do I think they could win their division? Yeah. Because Shesterkin, if Shesterkin's playing at the level of the best, you can. 282 goals against, 914 save percentage, not that great. Jonathan Quick, 5 games started this year for Jonathan Quick. 10 goals against, .185 goals against, .943 save percentage. The guy just found a fountain of youth in New York. Playing great. Let's move to our 3 future stories. I was going to go back to football. Let's stick with hockey, and then we'll get back to football towards the tail end of the program. If you hadn't heard, the Toronto Maple Leafs have won 7 of their last 8 games, and that's without Austin Matthews, El Capitan, in their lineup. Beating Utah last night. And I want to say this, I felt sorry for Toronto on Saturday. They didn't get to play on Saturday. And that hurt my soul. It did. They got bumped on Saturday night for Sebastian Maniscalco. I learned this. We talked about this on Thursday. I didn't know why they weren't playing. If you don't know, Sebastian Maniscalco is a comedian. He's okay. It's okay. He's no Seinfeld or Gillis. But, he's a comedian. Apparently he can fill Scotiabank Arena, which credit to him. It's one thing if you get bumped for Taylor Swift, but she's playing down at the Rogers Center. You got bumped for Maniscalco. I feel bad how the mediocre have fallen, but it's tough. But the team is playing great. No Domi, no Kampf, no Matthews, no Nick Roberts. I know he played. He just does nothing. But they're playing fantastic. Credit to them. Not complaining about the injuries, not making that an excuse. They just go out there and they win. Couple overall themes. Toronto, I said before the season, will win the Atlantic Division. They are currently leading in the Atlantic Division. They should win the division because, although I don't know if they're the best team, Florida's still pretty good. They are built to play regular season hockey, and it's the regular season, but they're putting in things that I like that will help them come April. They're playing more physical. To me, they are protecting the puck better. They are optimizing it. It's not just a game of keep away. Their power play has improved a ton because they are moving the puck. It's not stationary. Now, what will happen? Matthews could play on Wednesday against Florida. And he'll come back and they'll probably lose their first game that he's available. Because that's just the way it goes, and you go, who needs Matthews? And that's what I put in the title of today's episode. Who needs Austin Matthews? Toronto does. But what this 8-game stretch really proved, and I think two bigger things when it comes to, forget about contracts, because that's always the topic. We'll get to that in a second. This is about the team. What this has proved after the last 8 games is that Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner do not have to play together. And I've known this forever, but yet they always had to play together. It was as if it was in the contract for both of them that they have to be on the same line. When they were playing together, they weren't winning that often. They were playing really inconsistent hockey. They weren't playing that well together. The power play was bulimic. It was awful. Now, you can look at John Tavares and go, why is he playing so well? I don't know. He's playing with Mitch Marner for most of this. Mitch Marner is not the best player on the Toronto Maple Leafs. The best player is Austin Matthews. The most important player on the Toronto Maple Leafs is Mitch Marner. And people won't want to hear that because it'll be go back to the contract and he doesn't show up in the playoffs. Newsflash, none of them show up in the playoffs. Austin Matthews didn't even play in the playoffs last year, and he's not playing the last 8 games. Marner plays. You can give him that. Shows up. Maybe he doesn't play well every night, but he shows up. So kudos to him. Mitch Marner is the straw that stirs the drink. He does a ton. He defends, he passes, he's in the right situation. He's smart. He's a distributor. He's everywhere on the ice and he plays the wing. And he's a lightning rod. I get that. And you look at him and go, he's never gotten 100 points in the league. Fact. So you label him a 100-point player, but he's never been a 100-point player. Fact. 20 points in 21 games this year. Slow start, starting to heat up. 20 assists. 9 more assists than the next closest, 28 points in 21 games for Mitch Marner. That is 9 more assists than the next closest player, pardon me. And that's John Tavares with 11. That's impressive. But him and Matthews do not have to play together. The bottom of your lineup, you're concerned about it. Or at least I would be, and I still am, because it's still a problem. How about try to give other people an opportunity and not have to play your 2 best players together? That's an asinine thing to do. I hated when Edmonton did it. I hate that the Leafs do it. Because you're sacrificing multiple, not just one, you're sacrificing multiple lines so your best players can play together. To me, having your 2 best players needing to play together is more selfish than anything else. It's this, you care more about your cookies, you care more about who your little line mate is than who you care about winning. Draisaitl, McDavid, Marner, Matthews. It's the same thing. I'd want to have the pride that I could drive my own line. That I could go out there and do it. That I'm good enough to control this. That I don't need 34. I don't need the captain. I don't need the perceived better player on my line with me. When Matthews comes back, whenever that might be, if Craig Berube has any say on this team, if he has any set of balls, they're not on the same line. If they come back and they're on the same line the first day, he's lost me. Because I don't get it. You're having success without it. You don't need to do it. Tavares, great start. Point per game, again, egg in my face. So far, I've been wrong about John Tavares. Will I be wrong come playoff time? Probably not, but we'll see. John Tavares cannot be carried on a line by anybody other than Mitch Marner. Matthew Nyes isn't going to do it. Bobby McMahon, Nick Robertson. That's funny. It doesn't matter who it is. Mitch Marner should be on a line with him because guess what? You're paying him $11 million for this year because you didn't want to buy him out like my idea was. You keep him. Well, if you want to have your best chance, again, this is about winning. For Toronto, forget cookies and stats. Win the Atlantic Division because you've never fucking done that, and then try to win in the playoffs. And giving yourself the best opportunity to do that is not having 34 and 16 on the same line because you are literally taking away from 2 others. And again, they've played together the last couple years. And what have they won? Fuck all. You're playing great. And the reason I'm more passionate about this currently is because it's so obvious. And yet I don't have any faith in the Leafs organization that they're going to do the smart thing. And if you disagree with me, let me know in the comments. But I mean, they won 7 of the last 8. And here's how I look at it. Matthews coming back doesn't ruin your chemistry if you don't fuck it up. Him going back to the power play is only a problem if he holds the puck. If you're force-feeding him the puck like they were the first 15 games of the year. If you're putting him back on the line with Marner like you did the first 15 games of the year. Give Matthew Nyes, and Max Domi when he comes back. That's the line. Then you have John Tavares, Bobby McMahon, and Mitch Marner. That's your second line. And you go from there. Maybe Fraser Minton can be your third line center. I think it's way too early to know that. The kid's 20. He played one game and you wanted to put him in the Hall of Fame. Pump the brakes. I'd still want forwards, trade deadline. I'd want depth players. But I like that. Just going through that, you go through your team and go, wow, I like this team a lot better. Really? You do? I do anyway. Because contrary to these other people, I actually want them to be successful. I'm giving you the tips, guys. I don't hate you. Just listen. Shut up. You could put Nylander. I'm thinking you could put Nylander with Matthew, but Nylander could run his own line too. You could try that. It's not a sin. It's not a sin to do that. Pacioretty comes back. You got him with Nylander and Holmberg for now. And again, I want the bottom six to get better, but Nick Robertson will be gone. Kampf could be gone. Now, let's get to this. Mitch Marner, 28 points, 21 games. Best start in his first 20 games ever to his career. On pace to hit good over 100 for the first time in his career. Got to 99 once. Not 100. He's playing great, like he does a lot, because he's a really great player. 85 points in 69 games last year, 99 and 80, 97 and 72, 67 and 55, 67 and 59. Productive player. One of the better wingers in the NHL. Just because he's playing great right now does not mean you need to sign him before the playoffs. Because here's the thing. You might go, well, if we don't sign him, he's going to walk. Right? But you're not going to trade him before the deadline, so if you don't sign him, he might walk anyway. He's a really good player. But if you sign him tomorrow, they signed Nylander in December, I believe. Might have been late. It might have been after Christmas, but might have been early 2024, but it was fairly early into the season. He was playing great, kind of like Marner is right now. Well, if you re-sign Marner, then you have Nylander, Matthews, and Marner signed long-term, who all will have full no moves because you have to give that up. And if you don't win again, then you're stuck going back to the same drawing board. I don't think it's a sin to wait and see if Mitch Marner and this team can have playoff success. Because do I think Mitch Marner is a better player than William Nylander? I do. But you made your bed and you said, Nylander, we want to keep. And you signed Matthews and you want to keep him. So Marner's last up. But again, 8 seasons, 1 playoff round victory. Business terms, you are hemorrhaging money. That's breaking even. That's hardly a business. You're not doing anything. So Mitch Marner, clearly an emotional guy. His father is invested in this heavily, which always a problem. Parents are great sounding boards. They're great people. You want to go for them for advice. But parents getting involved with ice time, with your contract, no, that's garbage. You don't need that. Teams don't want that. Mitch Marner's a grown man. Paul Marner can stay home, go to the games for free, comp tickets. I don't think him being involved helps at all. There's enough media people who will be on Mitch Marner's side. Nick Kiprios still exists, so you're going to have him that will help Mitch Marner. But I'm not signing him tomorrow because he's played a great 10-game stretch. He has multiple great 10-game stretches a season. As I said, he's one of the better wingers in the NHL. But let me look at it this way. Mikko Rantanen signed a deal a while back with Mitch around the same time Mitch Marner did. And Mikko Rantanen took way less money. During that time, Mikko Rantanen won a Stanley Cup, and he was the second best player on a team of that Stanley Cup. Mitch Marner didn't win anything, didn't get close to winning anything. I love both players. If I had to take one, I'm taking Mikko Rantanen. Pastrnak, Marner, I'm taking Pastrnak. Mikko Rantanen's not signed with Colorado. Think of this, Colorado hasn't signed Mikko Rantanen yet. No talk of him leaving, no talk of, if you're going to hurt his feelings. You don't have to. Pure pressure. What if Mikko Rantanen gets to free agency? Marner wants to leave. Sign Mikko Rantanen to the contract you're going to give Marner. Why not? Something different. Not out of your price range. He'll probably take less than Mitch did the first time. Well, I think he likely stays in Colorado, but his contract's not done yet. So, Mikko Rantanen, 28 years old, big, strong winger, 6'4", 215, 32 points in 21 games. So better statistics than Mitch Marner after 21 games. 14 goals, 2 less assists. Mikko Rantanen's gotten to over 100 points twice. Mitch Marner has never gotten to 100 points. Interesting. Just food for thought. Just options. But if I'm trying, I'm not signing Mitch Marner tomorrow. No way. I'm not concerned with him being upset or I don't care. He's going to have to deal with it. And I think he wants to stay quite badly. So I think you can come to terms after the season if you really have to. Because this team, playing great, I think we'll win the Atlantic, as I predicted. We'll be one of the better teams in the East. We'll be a heavy favorite come playoff time. I think TSN's power rankings, they were 6th today. Fair. Good team, sure. Second best team in Canada, according to TSN, behind only Winnipeg. Fair. Tonight, busy slate in the NHL. No games in the NHL on Thursday for American Thanksgiving. And because their ratings would suck with the NFL going that day. That's the real reason. Preds in New Jersey to play the Devils. You have Golden Knights in Philly. Dallas and Carolina. Fun game. Washington in the Sunshine State playing Florida. Colorado and Tampa Bay. Fun game. Mikko Rantanen on the ice. Detroit and Long Island. These next two games, fun. Calgary in Ottawa. Ottawa's lost 4 in a row. Brady Tkachuk fought on Saturday night, got ejected from the game. Some people were frustrated with him, saying it was a selfish act. Travis Green had to come out and defend him today. I think the guy's frustrated for sure. I was watching that game. I didn't mind the fight. It sparked the team. They scored 2 goals to keep it interesting. They ultimately lost to Vancouver. Ottawa 8-11-1. Important stretch for them. Calgary at home, San Jose, at LA, at Anaheim, Detroit, Predators, Islanders, Ducks. That's basically the next 2 weeks and change. And if the season ended today, they'd have two playoff teams in Calgary and LA who are kind of on the periphery. You got to win those games. I like Calgary a lot. We've talked about, I think they're a gutsy group. They play their ass off. If they go to you in a gimmick, you're screwed because Justin Kirkland scores every time. Linus Ullmark's allowing 2 bad goals a game. Their defensive miscues are so awful and so correctable, which is the frustrating thing, I'm sure, for Travis Green. Learned today Artem Zub has a fractured foot, probably their best just pure defender. He's going to be out, quote, a while. These next 2 weeks very well could define their season. Because if it doesn't go well, it's going to be really hard for them to make the playoffs. Really hard for them to make the playoffs. They got the Flames, who are just a gutsy group, who play hard every night, getting solid goaltending from Dustin Wolf and Dan Vladar. They beat Minnesota on Saturday. They beat the Rangers on Thursday. They're not afraid of anybody. They play the same. They get contributions from the entire team. Look at Calgary, 12-6-3 so far on the season. Just to put this into perspective of how good Calgary's been. Because I find it's an amazing story after 20 games, how good they've been. And I saw some rumors, Kadri potentially going back to the Leafs. I don't think that's crazy talk, but not happening anytime soon. Here's why. After 21 games, Toronto's got 28 points. Okay? Best team in the Atlantic. After 21 games, Calgary has 27 points. 1 less point than Toronto. Toronto, the best team in the Atlantic. That's how good Calgary's been. They haven't fallen off yet. They're 1 point back of Vegas for tops in the Pacific. Do I think they're better than Edmonton when Edmonton's at full throttle? No. Better than Los Angeles? I think they can be as good as Los Angeles, personally. Vegas? No, I like Vegas' team, personally. Better than the Canucks? Maybe. I don't know. Again, Canucks are a good team, but they're weird. Calgary just competes. I give them a ton of credit. You also have Winnipeg in Minnesota tonight. No Kirill Kaprizov. He had an MRI today. Avoided a major injury. He won't play tonight, day to day. They're going to monitor him. He was off to such a great start. Playing fantastic. Looked like a guy that could win the Hart Trophy. But he's going to miss some time. Winnipeg, best 2 teams in hockey, you could argue. Winnipeg and Minnesota. The Jets 17-4. The Wild 13-3-4. Jets on the road trip beat Florida, beat Pittsburgh, lost to Nashville, in Minnesota tonight, in Los Angeles on Wednesday, in Vegas on Friday, in Dallas on Sunday. So a difficult week for the Winnipeg Jets with some tough opponents. But one break, no Kaprizov tonight for the Wild. Let's go back to football. The Lions are the best team. We've known this. The Lions are the best team in football. They had the shortest odds to win the Super Bowl. But for me, what Week 12 really did was show that there are two elite teams in the NFC. And then there's the rest. I think the Green Bay Packers are a good team. I do not think they're elite. And part of that is because Jordan Love, who is the league's highest paid player, leaves a lot to be desired every week. I love their running attack. Their defense comes up with tons of turnovers. And they're a very good team, the Green Bay Packers. And they're going to be a playoff team, and they will be threatening, no doubt about it. And if they can get some home playoff games, they're even tougher because going to Lambeau is no fun. But I think they have weaknesses, and I don't think they're elite. Minnesota, 9-2, should have lost to the Bears yesterday. Up 10 with 3 minutes left. Bears uncover an onside kick. Santos makes a field goal. Bears kick a field goal in overtime that's blocked. And the Vikings survive, and they're 9-2. And Sam Darnold played really well yesterday, as did Caleb Williams. By the way, that was a fun game. 2 quarterbacks dueling it out. 2 touchdown passes, 1 to Jordan Addison, 1 to Naylor. Justin Jefferson only had 2 catches yesterday, but Hawkinson was all over the place. You had Addison, who was all over the place. Aaron Jones averaged 5 yards a clip. But I look at the Vikings. There's just something there that's missing. I like Sam Darnold, but he's not an elite quarterback. He has games where he looks like he plays for the Jets. I love Kevin O'Connell as a head coach. But they're going to have to go on the road in the playoffs. They're not going to win their division. And I don't think they can win road games. They're a dome team that's not really used to playing in the cold. So while they're a good team, I think they're going to finish third in their division behind Green Bay and Detroit. I don't think they're elite. The second elite team in the NFC is the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles have all the ingredients. They got a good quarterback who's a dual threat. They got a wide receiver who has a great connection with the court, and that's A.J. Brown. The Eagles are different when he's on the field. They have a defense that gets better week after week. Struggled in the first quarter, but ended up with sacking Matthew Stafford 5 times last night. But their key ingredient is Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley, who left the Giants in the offseason because they didn't really want him. And he leaves the Giants to join the division rival, the Eagles. He ran yesterday 26 times for 255 yards. That's 10 yards a clip and 2 touchdowns. He also caught 4 balls for 47 yards. So almost 300 of total yards for Saquon Barkley in the victory against the Rams last night. He now leads the NFL in rushing, surpassing Derrick Henry last night. The guy behind this offensive line is just incredible. He's up to 1,392 rushing yards. He's on pace to break Eric Dickerson's all-time record by 50 yards with 6 games to play. Derrick Henry also still has a bye week. So Derrick Henry's played an extra game than Saquon Barkley at this point. Derrick Henry trails him by over 200 yards. He's not getting that back. I don't think Derrick Henry has a 200-yard game the rest of the year. But this team playing the way that they do, with Barkley out there and A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert healthy, Jalen Hurts who can do it both ways, the Eagles roster with him, they are the second best team in the NFC, and to me, they are the biggest threat to the Lions. They are going to win their division. They are going to be the 2 seed in the NFC because the 3 seed is Seattle. They're 6-5 right now. The Falcons are 6. The Eagles, they're going to lose some games before the end of the year, yes, but they won't lose that many games. I don't see them losing that many. Rest of the way, Eagles at the Ravens next Sunday. Huge game. Derrick Henry versus Saquon Barkley, the 2 best running backs in football. Both were free agents. Both are on new teams. That's theater. It's a 5:25 kickoff on CBS. That's an awesome game. They then host the Panthers, host the Steelers, at the Commanders, host the Cowboys, host the Giants. Maybe 2 losses. I go more 1 loss. I could see this team being 14-3. Really good season. And them being 14-3 could potentially win them the NFC. Lions, they got the Bears this Thursday on Thanksgiving. Host the Packers the following Thursday. Tough game at home, though. Host the Bills. Yes, it's at home. Tough game. At Chicago. At San Francisco, last Monday night game of the year. And their last game of the year, they host the Minnesota Vikings. Do they lose 2 to 3 games in there? Potentially. Packers, never know. That Bills game is scary. A lot of division games in there, which it can go either way. But the Eagles are the second most dangerous team in the NFC. I like Green Bay. I like Minnesota. I don't even mind Arizona, but they lost yesterday in a wild NFC West where Seattle is leading the division at 6-5. You have Arizona at 6-5, Rams 5-6, and 49ers 5-6 who are on life support at this point. But I love the Eagles. I think they can play with anybody. Saquon to me, should be second in MVP odds currently. He's third. MVP odds currently via FanDuel. Let me pull that up for all of you. Josh Allen is in the lead, which, fair enough. I could see Saquon being right there with Josh Allen, but that's just me. We have Josh Allen plus 135, Lamar Jackson plus 300, Jared Goff plus 7. He's tied with Jared Goff for the third best odds. Jared Goff's not going to win it. Jared Goff's on the best team, which helps him, but Jared Goff's not going to win the MVP. And you have Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert plus 3,300. If Saquon can play really good football the rest of the way, if he can break Eric Dickerson's record, if they could potentially be the number 1 seed in the NFC, potentially in the NFL, I wouldn't rule it out. Yes, it normally doesn't go to running backs, but he's changed the outlook of that team. He's changed the outlook of their season. That Eagles defense can play. They get after the quarterback. They do a lot of smart things. Nick Sirianni is not yelling at fans. He's not doing much right now. They're just winning games, moving on to the next week. Smart. Taking care of business. Trying to get to another Super Bowl and this time win it. Looking at Offensive Rookie of the Year, just because we're here, fun looking at the odds. Jaden Daniels minus 180, still the favorite. Bo Nix plus 150, right on his heels. Bo Nix winning another game yesterday in Vegas. Broncos are now 7-5. The Broncos are going to make the playoffs. To me, that's a lock. Broncos making the playoffs, because currently they'd be the 7th seed. They're the last team in. You have the Ravens ahead of them. You have the Chargers ahead of them. Well, one of those two teams are playing each other tonight. One of them is going to lose, which will help help the Broncos. But Ravens have Chargers tonight, then the Eagles. I believe the Ravens have one of the tougher schedules left, just when it comes to overall just tough teams that you're going to have to face. Yeah, Ravens at the Chargers, host the Eagles, then they have their bye week. At the Giants, okay, that's a game you like. Host the Steelers, at the Texans on Christmas. Browns. Okay, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. Chargers, on the other hand, who I like, host the Ravens tonight. At the Falcons on Sunday. At the Chiefs the following Sunday, Sunday Night Football. Host the Bucks. Host the Broncos on a Thursday. At Patriots. At Raiders. Some tough games in there, certainly. Some winnable games, though. They do play the Broncos as well, as you kind of control your own destiny. But you look in the AFC, Dolphins are 5-6. Dolphins have a huge game this upcoming weekend, this upcoming Thursday, at Lambeau against the Packers. Kind of a must-win. You have the Colts at 5-7, Bengals at 4-7. After that, Browns aren't making the playoffs. Jets aren't making the playoffs. Titans, no. Patriots, no. Jags, no. Raiders, no. I think the Broncos are going to be a playoff team. I think they're a good team, not a great team, but to be a playoff team with year one under Bo Nix, massive success. Massive success. NFC West, who wins that? I don't know. Seattle wins against Arizona yesterday at home. They get a pick 6 from Kobe Bryant. Gino played efficient, and they win. Kyler did not play so well. They lose. Rams get absolutely mollywopped by the Eagles. San Francisco gets destroyed without Brock Purdy and Nick Bosa against Green Bay. San Francisco almost feels like the longest odds for me, which is crazy. San Francisco at 5-6 at this point. In Buffalo this upcoming Sunday night. We'll talk lines as we get later in the week. I don't even know that line yet. Buffalo is going to be a favorite. I'm just curious how much. To me, it was almost insulting that the Packers were only a 5.5-point favorite without Brock Purdy and Nick Bosa. That should have been 10+. That was giving away money. But 49ers at Bills, host the Bears, play the Rams on a Thursday, at Miami, Detroit, Arizona. That's a tough schedule. See a lot of losses in there. 2 for sure, maybe more. NFC West, anybody. Arizona at Vikings this upcoming Sunday. Huge game. Host Seattle, host the Patriots, at Carolina, at the Rams, 49ers. The Rams, 5-6, still in it. At the Saints, host the Bills, at San Francisco, at the Jets, Cardinals, Seahawks. I think the best team, top to bottom, you go San Francisco, but they look old. To me, the best team, top to bottom, is Arizona, but they blew it yesterday against Seattle. But they have the same record. I think if Kyler Murray can play consistent, they can win that division. Yesterday, Dolphins crushed the Patriots. Titans upset the Texans in Houston. Chiefs survived Carroll 30-27. Here's a betting tip. The Chiefs are always huge favorites, and yet all their games are close. So what that tells you is bet on the opponent to cover. Carolina was a 10.5-point dog yesterday. They covered the 10.5. They lost by 3. I know this line because I saw it in passing today. For Friday's game against Vegas, Kansas City is a 13.5-point favorite. A 2-touchdown favorite. Now, yes, Gardner Minshew has a broken collarbone. He's out for the season, so it'll likely be Desmond Ridder. But Gardner Minshew, Desmond Ridder, that's, there's not much difference there. That's Sharman and Kirkland. What's the difference? I can't tell. So, I like 13.5. You could always throw that in a teaser and get that up to like 17, 18 points as well. Throw that in with a couple different things. Get a teaser going. Bet that up. 17, 8. But I like that straight up 13.5, 14 points. We'll talk this more on Friday. That's a lot of points. And the Chiefs always win, but they win close. They don't win big. But we'll talk lines as we get closer. Tonight, really fun Monday night game. Ravens at the Chargers, otherwise known as the Harbaugh Bowl. John versus Jim Harbaugh. They have met twice previously, and John Harbaugh has won both times, including in the Super Bowl. So Jim looking for some retribution. Ravens, I'm kind of worried about. I look at them like, you saw the Commanders yesterday. The Commanders look tired. They haven't had their bye week yet. The Ravens haven't had their bye week yet. The Ravens have to play the Chargers tonight, then play the Eagles on Sunday. Then they get their bye, week 14. The latest bye week in the sport. I like a late bye week, but it's a struggle to get through it. That Ravens secondary gives up a lot of yards. Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnson, Will Dissly down the field. Chargers running game. I love Derrick Henry. I think we're going to see some points tonight. I think we're going to see a really fun game. Two extremely talented quarterbacks. But I love a home dog. I love a home dog. And I think I like the Chargers. It was 2.5 this afternoon. If you go on FanDuel Sportsbook right now, you can get the Chargers +3. I'm not even talking about a teaser. I'm talking Chargers, 3 points, and I like the Los Angeles Chargers tonight +3. Not only do I like them +3, I like the Chargers to win the game outright. I like the Chargers to win tonight 34-27. Justin Herbert, 3 touchdown passes. He has a good night. Lamar Jackson, anytime touchdown, like that. Derrick Henry, anytime touchdown, probs. Yep. J.K. Dobbins, sure. But I like the Chargers. The Chargers are a good team. They're the best team in Los Angeles. I think the Chargers, Jim Harbaugh finally beats his brother tonight in a shootout to wrap up Week 12. And Week 12 was a lot of fun. A lot of fun in college football. Alabama lost to Oklahoma. What? Texas A&M lost to Auburn. What? Colorado lost to Kansas. What? Florida, my Gators, beat Ole Miss in the swamp. What? 3 straight wins against ranked opponents for Florida and for KU. College football, the committee tomorrow with the rankings will just be so interesting to see what happens. I can't wait for that. Chaos. Like I said, fun week. American Thanksgiving on Thursday. You got college football games. On Friday, you got a bunch of NHL and NBA throughout the day. I'm sure we'll have more news this week. On Wednesday night on the program, we will recap this game. We will look ahead to the Thanksgiving games. We're going to talk some hockey. We'll see if Austin Matthews will return for the game against the Florida Panthers on Wednesday. See how the Ottawa Senators play tonight against Calgary. And a lot of other news, I'm sure, that will follow, including Yusei Kikuchi signing a big deal with the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim earlier today. Thanks for hanging out tonight. As I said off the top of the show, please go. It's in our posted on Facebook. The link to the podcast on Apple. Leave us a rating and review. Always appreciate that. Until next time, I'm your host, Noah Warren, and this is the Live and Learn Podcast.